Is that mold on my cheese? And what about that? And that? Let's dive deeper. We all know there are certain kinds of cheese that are specifically made with harmless mold in or on it to give it some different flavors or textures. But what should you do when you find white spots on a normally mold-free cheese like cheddar, for example? Now, more often than not, especially if it's not kept in an ideal environment, cheese can over time develop white spots or white smudges on its outside surface. And while your mind might automatically think that you should throw it away, this might not be the right move. Oftentimes, white spots on cheese can just be calcium lactate. See, when milk is made into cheese, most of its lactose gets turned into lactic acid by bacteria. And that lactic acid then forms a bond with the calcium that naturally occurs in the milk, making calcium lactate, which is completely healthy. It's even being used in medicine for people with calcium deficiencies. Now, normally that calcium lactate isn't visible to our eyes from the start as it is dissolved in the cheese's moisture. When the cheese then loses moisture in the aging process, the calcium lactate forms crystals, which you usually also can't see unless there's a high concentration of it in one spot. Now, an important property of calcium lactate is that it is drawn to water. And when you have cheese in loose packaging or expose it to a lot of temperature fluctuations, eventually water droplets will form on it and a lot of calcium lactate will move there. If then later that water evaporates, the crystals of calcium lactate will be left on a big pile, making it visible to our eyes as white smudges. Now, those white smudges can be differentiated from mold mostly by its color and its texture. First of all, calcium lactate will always be white, so if there are any green or blue spots on it, it's probably mold. Don't eat that. If the spots are just white, check the texture. Mold is often soft and moist, while calcium lactate is hard and powdery. Just a quick side note, there are also other crystals in cheese which occur when certain amino acids break down in the cheese making process. Then you get the tyrosine crystal, for example. These types of crystals are rarely found on the outside, but instead on the inside or around holes in the inside of the cheese, and are all safe to eat. They give the cheese an often coveted crunchy texture, but are not that often mistaken for molds, which is why I won't go into more detail regarding those. Now, even if it is mold on your cheese, as long as it's a hard or a semi-soft cheese like cheddar, the mold can't penetrate far through it. As long as you cut about 2.5 centimeters or 1 inch off of the cheese, you should be fine. Be aware though that mold can also spread throughout the air, so just take that into consideration. In conclusion, if you have white spots on your otherwise mold-free cheese, check the texture of it. High chances are you might still have perfectly fine cheese that would otherwise go to waste. And that's it for this week. Thanks for watching. I hope you had a good week and I will see you in the next few.